Ladies and gentlemen, I address you today as an ordinary citizen of Syria. I have lived in Australia for 5 years, and although I love this country and I am proud to be an Australian citizen, I cannot forget my homeland Syria, where the corrupt and the violent government is murdering ordinary innocent civilians. I am talking to you today to tell you about what is going on in Syria and to ask the Australian government to take the next step beyond the sanctions and denounce the Syrian government as illegitimate. We cannot allow this level of brutality and oppression to continue. We Syrians are a peaceful and dignified people. For thousands of years, populations of different ethnic origins, different languages, and of course different religions have inhabited our land. We are able to live peacefully together. Damascus, our capital, is one of the most ancient cities in the world, and some of the world's earliest writing systems have been unearthed in our land. Syria is not a desert. We have vast tracts of rich, fertile and productive farmland. We are also great traders and manufacturers, and these qualities have been evident among our people for centuries. We do not owe their flourishing to the autocratic socialism of the current regime. Syrian politics is dominated by the Ba'ath Party, which has long been headed by the Assad family. Members of the Assad family head up and control the Syrian armed forces, Syria's intelligence agencies, and 60% of the GDP, as well as holding the presidency. For years, we have tolerated this Assad-Ba'ath rule because we Syrians prefer peace to conflict, but also because widespread whispering and reporting by state informers have cowed us. People in Assad Syria don't talk politics. We all know examples of families who have suffered from the secret reports when individuals have suddenly disappeared, sometimes for weeks, sometimes months, sometimes years, and sometimes forever. Many Syrian jails are underground. Everyone is afraid to lose a loved one. Our families in Syria are close and intimate. One reason for this apparent cowardice or apathy is a regime of nationalistic brainwashing programs that would have made the governments of Nazi Germany proud. From kindergarten till university, we have been conditioned to obey all orders and to believe the propaganda of our government. There is also a pervasive petty corruption among police, the justice system and government bureaucracy. It has become acceptable in Ba'ath Syria to expect to pay your way through dealings with officials and police. If you refuse to engage in bribery, you are laughed at for your naivety. When I came to Australia, I quickly learned to love some of this country's core values: equality, justice, freedom, and democracy. Sure, there is corruption to be found here too, but when it is uncovered, it is a scandal and it is publicized. When we vote here, we can choose from more than one candidate, representing more than one party. And we aren't tortured, killed, or made to disappear if we criticize those in power. These values are what the people of Syria are now demanding. They are not the preserve of Australia. Equality, justice, freedom, and democracy are our fundamental right too. But in March, when some of my bravest compatriots first threw off the fear that the Syrian intelligence had spread for decades, their shouts were met with live ammunition. They were killed, and then those who attended their funerals were shot dead too. It started with mere children as young as 10, writing slogans on a school wall, such as those they had seen on television being shouted in other Arab countries. These kids were arrested, beaten, and had their fingernails pulled out. Their families begging for their release were vilely insulted and arrested as well. This led to outraged protests and revolts. Since then, there have been endless reports of horrific, brutal torture, and no one has been spared by the thugs. Christians pulled out of protests have been accused of being Islamist extremists. Teenage boys taking food to families under siege have had their kneecaps smashed and their genitals mutilated before being shot dead. Women, the disabled, and the elderly have been murdered, and men leading chants at protests have had their throats slit and their voice boxes pulled out. The Assad-led ruling elite has tried various tactics to cause the movement for freedom to founder, and since early on, it has tried to lodge wedges of distrust and fear between our country's many ethnic and religious groups. It bombs restive towns from above, shells them from without, and cuts off water, electricity, communications, and supply lines. You have surely heard on the news in the last 2 days about the cities of Hamah and Deir Zor are the current targets of the regime, with extreme suffering and death in these places at the moment. It has painted our honest struggle for our rights as a fraud instigated by foreign governments. It has tried to distract attention by using our Palestinian refugees to create a havoc on our border with Israel. It pretends that the country is awash with unidentified armed gangs, when in fact these gangs are the thugs of the regime. Foreign journalists are out loud in the attempts to hide or cover up what is going on. It has even claimed that the Syrian protests clearly and authentically documented on YouTube are actually taking place in Iraq or Qatar. And it insinuates that a Syria not ruled by Assad can only be a Syria ruled by a mob of political Islamists that would not tolerate Christians, Druze, Armenians, Alawites, or other minority groups. But despite the decades of brainwashing, we are not that stupid. As I said earlier, we Syrians have lived side by side for thousands of years. There are many reasons why Syria will never splinter like Iraq has done. We are safe here in Australia, we think. But our families in our homeland are definitely not. We want for them the peace and dignity that the people of Syria deserve, and the overarching human right to choose who governs them and how are they governed. To achieve this, the regime must be toppled. The first step is for the international community to declare Ba'ath Syria under Bashar al-Assad an illegitimate regime. Thank you for your support of my homeland and my people. Thank you for listening.
هذه كانت كلمة من الجمعية الرئيس السوري في سيدني 2/8/2011 في المؤتمر في برلمان في سيدني.